Hello, everybody. This is Coach Anthony Pratley from the Pistol Spread Option Offense. We're starting a new series in which we're going to deep dive into the playbook, kind of a one-on-one, get a chance to see what's really behind the offense and how it functions. I want to say thank you, first of all, to all the people that have been along the way since 2007 when we created this playbook. I never imagined that 18 years later in 2025 we'd be here going through this recording as we are today. But thank you to all the support. Thank you to everyone. Again, like and subscribe to this new series. I think it's going to be excellent for coaches. The whole idea is to educate coaches on what we're doing and why we're doing it, why we do the things we do in the pistol spread option offense. So let's start out with our formation shifts and motions. Formation shifts and motions make us who we are. It makes us flexible. It makes us versatile. And that's what makes the pistol spread option so dangerous. I'm talking to one kid. He can get into multiple positions using the same formation. So today we're going to focus in on this particular series on the base formation, which is our bread and butter. It is the day one formation, as we call it. This is the first thing we teach our kids. Doesn't matter what level, whether it's youth, whether it's college. We did the same thing with the pistol spread option offense. We taught the base formation. The base formation is a 2x2 formation for us. We will have two receivers to the left of center, our F and our X. We will have two receivers lined up to the right of the center. That is our Y and our Z. An important thing to note as we go through this series, you're going to see through all these formations, the X and the Y are always on the line of scrimmage. Why is that important? Because that is going to prevent penalties. We don't have to worry about if I'm on the line or off the line, looking over to the ref, am I on or am I off? We still do that, but we know for sure that the X and the Y are always on the line of scrimmage, and the F and the Z are going to be off. So we shouldn't get any penalties for lining up illegally or anything like that. So the base formation is 2x2. It's very simple. Most of you have seen a variation of this. But I want to go into what makes this special. What makes it special is what we call our diagrams or our spots on the field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach a spot on the field to a kid, and he's going to go line up in that spot. So when they hear the word base, they automatically go to their base formation. They know where to be. When I call the word tight, I am talking to just the Y. And again, remember the Y is the one that is lined up on the line of scrimmage. When he hears the word tight, that means something to him. He's going to do something different than he would normally do. So again, our base formation diagram, our Y and our X are on the line, our F and our Z are off the line. When I call base tight, I am talking to the Y. The Y is no longer out wide. He is going to go down into a tight end formation. So without changing anything, without teaching a new formation, the Y only has to listen to the word tight. When he hears the word tight, he knows he has to line up next to the tackle. He is now going to be acting as a tight end. That is that simple. The same thing applies to our X, but this time he's listening for the word down. When he hears the word down, he is going to align down into the formation as a tight end, similar to what the Y did with the word tight. He's going to go down into the base formation down position, which makes him a tight end. Is it possible for me to call base down? Absolutely. Base down is the X. Can I call tight down? Yes, that's the Y going into the tight end formation. We can do double tight ends where we would say tight down. The tight would tell the Y to come down into the tight end formation. The down would tell the X to come down into the tight end formation to give us a double tights look. That is called tight down. So that gives you the idea of the X and the Y. Again, they're always on the line of scrimmage. It makes it simple for them. Whenever the X hears the word down, he goes to that tight end spot. Whenever the Y hears the word down or tight, he goes to that tight spot. So it makes it very simple and gives us multiple formations. The next one that we're going to talk about is the Z. Again, he is the receiver that's usually lined up to the right. We call that his rhythm position. You'll notice I'm not able to click on the rhythm position here because it's his base formation. That's where he lines up on base. So when I go into blues, however, that is going to tell him to go to the left side. We've tried to keep the R words to the right, the L words to the left. So in this particular case, blues tells him he is going to go line up as a third wide receiver in the slot in his blues position. Everybody else heard base. They go to their base position. But the word blues tells that Z, instead of being where you normally are in your rhythm spot, you're going to go over and line up in your blues position. So that gives us a whole new formation by saying one word. Is it possible to align things together? Absolutely. Could I call tight blues? Yes. Tight blues would tell the Y to come down into the tight end position. Blues would tell the Z to go over and line up in a trips position. And now you've created a new formation, talking to one particular individual. They each hear their own word. The Y hears the word tight, he would come down. In this particular diagram, the Z would hear the word blues, he would line up to the third receiver inside. So it gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of ability to teach some basics without going crazy, giving it different formation names. The words brown and gold mean something to the Z. That means he is going to be one by one lined up as a wing. So brown, for him, is to the right side. He would go from his normal location. He comes down to 1 foot by 1 foot off the end man on the line of scrimmage. If it is a base brown formation, your Z would be lined up here. If it is a tight brown, where we say the word tight, bringing the Y down, the Z would move over and be 1 by 1 off the end man on the line of scrimmage, which in this case would be the Y. So base brown is simple. Line up as that 1 by 1 wing to the right. If I go back and call base gold, that puts the Z to the left, 1 by 1 off the end man on the line of scrimmage, which in this particular case is the tackle. So you can see how easy it is to talk about one-word answers to these kids. They're all listening for one thing, but it changes your formations. It changes everything you do. You don't have to give every different formation a name. This makes it so simple and so easy to line up in multiple formations. Now we're going to get into the F. Again, that is the receiver that's normally aligned to the left. He has his rock and roll spots. Similar to the rhythm and blues for Z, rock and roll is for our F. He is normally lined up in the roll position, so you see I can't click on it. But if I want to click on the rock position, that means the F is going to go from his normal roll position over to the right side and be the third receiver. That is his rock positioning. If I wanted to put him in red and black, it functions the same way as brown and gold did for our Z. Red would put him 1 by 1 off the end man on the line of scrimmage to the right. There he is there in a base red. I can put him in 1 by 1 in black to the left. Again, he's 1 yard by 1 yard to the left. Red is to the right, black is to the left. I don't have to name this a new formation. It's just something simple. I tell the F, go to black. So base for everybody else, black for the F. What you can do again is you can start to make multiple combinations. You can have your X come in to be in that down position. You can have your Y come in to be in the tight position. Could you call tight down black? Yes, you can do that. It's simple. He hears the word tight. He would move down into the tight position. Down would tell the X to come in and be a double tight. The F would move out to 1 by 1 off the X. So you can see how easy it is to create multiple formations, but you're only using 1 or 2 words for your kids, which makes it easy to teach. So we've come to the similarities with the F and the Z, where they have the rhythm and blues, brown and gold, rock and roll for our F, and red and black to put them 1 by 1. Now we're going to get into the backfield formations. So can I put the F back in the backfield? The answer is absolutely, we do that. So if I want to put him in a strong position, he is now going to go from his normal spot to the directly behind the guard next to the quarterback. That is what we call our base strong, which gives us a 2-back scenario. If I want to put him in base weak, it works the exact same way. Strong is to the right, weak is to the left. He would go from his normal spot up here and he would line up in that guard quarterback scenario there where he's directly behind the guard and next to the quarterback. So that is for us base weak. Again, can you make combinations? Of course you can. You can say tight down weak, which would put the Y into a tight position, would put your X down into a double tight end, and then your F would line up in weak. So you've built multiple formations using base and using these magic words as we call them for the kids. And last but not least, we get into our hammer, nail, and split. So hammer is what we're going to put into a 1 into the guard tackle gap to the right. That is for the F only. And he's in that guard tackle gap. He's still in the backfield, but he's lined up more as a pseudo tight end here. That's hammer to the right. If we call nail, that takes him to the left. So he would line up in that guard tackle gap to the left. The last thing I'm going to be teaching my F is your split, where he's going to come into the backfield and they're going to split. The H will move over behind the right guard. The F would be behind the left guard into more of a traditional split back look. Again, everything we do based out of the pistol, but it makes it tremendously easy for your kids to learn, and it makes it tremendously flexible for you as a coach. I've taught one formation. I teach these spots. and I can move into hundreds of different formations by using one word. Last but not least, we talk about the H. Normally, our H-back is directly behind the quarterback. We can call him into an empty right scenario where everybody else is lined up in their base spot, and we call base empty right, which moves our H from directly behind the quarterback out to a third receiver to the right. If I were to call base empty left, it would work exactly the same way, but now he would empty out to the left. So there is my base empty left with our H in the slot. We have a near and a far position for our back. This is if you're looking for more of a traditional offset spread option. We can do that. We're still in the pistol, but we're going to put our H directly behind the guard in a near to the right and in a far to the left, which means he's directly behind the left guard. And then we've already talked about the split position where we're going to have both the F and the H in the backfield behind the guards. So hopefully you've learned a lot about the flexibility of the pistol spread option system. Again, I've gone through one formation with you. This is our base formation. When we take that base formation in that 2x2, we've taught that the X and the Y are always on the ball, always on the line of scrimmage, which makes things a lot easier. These kids hear the one-word positions that I need them to go to, and they have now learned an entirely different offense, but using the same formation. So as we get into more videos, you'll learn more about the formations that we do have. But the base formation is really our day one, bread and butter. This is what we install on the first day, whether I'm teaching youth, whether I'm coaching high school, JV, freshman, or college. Day one formation for me was always base. If I was a youth coach, I wouldn't do much more than base. I might have a few more that we would add, but most of it would be off of our base. Thank you for tuning in. Again, hit the like and the subscribe down at the YouTube channel here, but we'll have more of these coming. This is just the beginning. Thanks for tuning in. This is Coach Anthony Pratley.